We've come all the way to Blackpool to the Retro Play Expo. Check out some retro games, play some retro games, hopefully buy some retro stuff. Are you even zoomed in enough here? Yeah. Welcome to
See my excitement? See it. So a couple of weekends ago, we were lucky enough to go to the Blackpool Play Expo, which is apparently the UK's biggest retro games expo. This was a big deal for me. There are few things that I love more than going to shit like this. In fact, it was one of the main motivators for starting my channel, to be able to go to places like this and make videos on them, because back in April 2020, we were all still naive enough to believe that this whole pandemic thing was only going to last a few short weeks, and by the summer, we'd all be back to our normal lives. So little did I know at the time that this kind of thing was going to be stripped away from me for like a whole year and a half. It's truly been a grueling time. Anyway, now that reality is set in and we all adjust to a new world, one where danger looms in the background at all times like an annoying ringing in your ear, a new society trying to repair itself, but with the ever-present feeling that the whole thing is hanging by a thread and at any minute it could all just collapse and regress into a barbaric dog-eat-dog dystopian societal construct. Now that that's set in and we're all just learning to live this way, people need a reason to distract themselves more than ever. People need video games more than ever. And finally, the video game expos, shows, fairs and festivals are making their way back to us. And the first one, or at least the first one that I didn't have to catch a plane to attend, was Blackpool Play Expo. I really didn't know what to expect, to be honest. Like, how does one of these things work in a world still feeling the effects of a pandemic? We're seeing things being gradually brought back to us, but with restrictions, and I understand why we need the restrictions, but it makes these kinds of events lesser versions of themselves, and I'm just so ready to immerse myself back in video game culture in person at events like this. Anyway, here it is, Blackpool Play Expo 2021. Okay, first thing that me and George did when we got there is we just walked around the full thing. So here it is.
It looks pretty cool. So yeah. So it's like a big version of the arcade club in Leeds, which we're going to do a video on, aren't we, George? This is like the cabinet zone here, and all of these are free to play. I especially like this one. This looks immense amounts of fun. And then over here we've got the retro game zone, which is just tons of consoles set up to play. So we'll come back and we'll play some of these, but we'll just go for the Wonder first. Bit of retro gaming on the Xbox One. So I've seen this thing. This is like what the place is sponsored by. It's called Antstream Arcade. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I think it's like a Netflix style thing for arcade games where you can just stream them. And also I want to check this out over here. This thing, the Sinden light gun. I knew like a little bit about it before, but basically if you ever try to play light gun games on modern TVs, they just don't work, because it works by reflecting back off the glass that was on the front of old CRT TVs. And this is a modern, like a new version, basically what you can use on fresh TVs. So I definitely want to check that out, see how good it is, because I love me some gun games. Alright, let's go up here. As you can see, more retro games there. FIFA. This is pretty cool, but I can't work out if they're actually free to play or not. Maybe I should ask someone. Are the pinball machines free to play? Yeah. Apart from these two, I think. Apart from these two? That's why no one's on this one. swung back round to the arcade zone here. Oh, this looks cool. Guy needs to get himself on aim lab. So that's pretty much the main area. There's a few talks and stuff that go on in another room over there, but I don't know if we're going to go to any of that. Basically, I'm here to play some games and buy some stuff, so we'll go through to the trader hall in a bit, but we're going to just enjoy some games for now. Oh shit, I'm supposed to walk away. Shall I do that again?
Let's walk away, it's fine.
So my favourite part of events like this is the shopping hall, because if there's one thing that I love spending my money on, it's old shite. Because that's what retro collecting is really. It's a whole multi-million-dollar industry based on the resale of old shite. I absolutely love it. I mean, let's be honest, I'm underselling it here. See, there's been many things in my life that have been and gone. Hobbies, fashion sense, my dad. But video games have always been a big part of my life, literally since before I can even remember. There's just an endless amount of video game treasures to be found out there. Such a rich and thick history of artwork, characters, consoles, accessories, soundtracks, and of course, video games themselves. It's a 60-year-old industry fueled literally by enjoyment, and it's fascinating to me to be able to collect and experience pieces of this rich history. And that right there is an absolute chronic itch that I've been unable to scratch for the last 18 months. But why? The internet still exists. I'm not against buying retro online. I've bought many things from eBay and other various sellers, but it's just not the same. See, collecting retro for me is a hobby. It's as much about the hunt and the search as it is actually owning it. It's about the browse. I fucking love a browse. I love nothing more than finding myself in a concentrated pool of retro memorabilia and sifting through it to unearth hidden treasures and bring them back to my haven. And unfortunately, despite its convenience, buying online doesn't scratch that itch. But this right here really hits the spot. Well, kind of. Honestly, it was great to be back in one of these things, and it was awesome to be back in a retro shopping hall, but as far as retro shopping halls go, I don't know, it was just a bit underwhelming. I don't know if it was the fact that we went on Sunday afternoon and this thing had been running all weekend, so maybe it was a case of all the good stuff had gone. There was even empty stalls where vendors had packed up and left early. And I don't know, for the UK's biggest retro gaming expo, it was kind of small. Like, how do they define biggest? If I'm coming to the UK's biggest retro expo, and one of the main features is the retro shopping hall, then I would expect the retro shopping hall to be the UK's biggest retro shopping hall, right? Well, it wasn't. It was far from it. I've been to a few retro fairs that were much bigger with a lot more stalls and a lot more on display. That's not to say that I didn't enjoy myself in there though, because I did. I mean, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot in there that I was interested in buying. There was some great Japanese import stuff.
I don't actually know what any of these say,
but it was way out of what I was willing to pay for it. I always find it difficult to justify the price tags on Japanese import stuff in the UK because I've been to Tokyo and I've seen how much it costs out there, and I know that the hike is because it's import stuff and it's hard to get it over there to here. So I kind of understand why those things are so expensive, but what I didn't understand is that most of the stores selling normal stuff had jacked up their pricing on games and hardwares. One of the amazing things about these retro halls was always the fact that you could get some great deals, and for an industry built on physical sales, you'd think that they'd try to uphold that by undercutting online or high street prices. For example, I was hoping to pick up a copy of Resident Evil 0 for the GameCube because I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil games and I've never actually played 0. Now, I know this game isn't especially popular. It's actually known to be one of the worst games in the Resident Evil series. It's not rare to get hold of a copy, and I know its online value to be around the £10 mark. I also know that CEX, a high street retailer, is actually selling the game for £10. So I was surprised and kind of annoyed to see it here for £25. That's a 250% price hike.
Oh, that.
I just don't get it. Who's going to pay that? You see, the people who come to these kinds of things and spend all day in the shopping hall searching through the games, they're the people that collect video games. And do you think those people aren't going to know the value of the games that they came searching for? I honestly wonder how many people picked up games and consoles and thought, actually, no, I'll leave it because I know I can get it cheaper online. It just kind of defeats the point of these because people aren't going to pay more. It's not a privilege for us to have come to this thing to pay you money. We already paid to get in. You know what I'm saying? Just fucking sell the games at the price that they should be. I've noticed it happening at a few retro fairs. It was starting to happen towards, just before the pandemic. And if this price hiking continues, these vendors, they're just going to shoot themselves in the foot because there's just no point. There's just no point buying from them. Saying that, I did buy a few things.
We're unpacking the mystery items that we got. This is not a mystery item, but this is the only thing that I could find that I really want to buy. Right, what have you got?
Pinball game.
Is it a hair clip? Right then, let's get into mine. Boys Lucky Dip. You know this. That's going straight on. So boys, put it in fit.
Put it wrong way. It is. No, still wrong way.
Is that going to be able to spin?
I thought they said the cheeky gaming bag. The cheeky gaming mystery bag. So this is the main event. Halo 5 tattoo pack. Yeah, a bit in the gaps.
Yeah. Fill your arm up.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare dog tags. Sick this.
They look like Xerxes.
Horizon. Oh, this is kind of cool. Mystery box within a mystery box. Horizon Zero Dawn vinyl figure. Just unnecessary, this, isn't it? Unnecessary amount of packaging. Oh no, I'll take that though. That's pretty cool. So far, 15 quid. Oh, and I've got one thing left. It's shite. It's trash, is what it is.
Anyway, after spending a couple of hours in the shopping hall, we went out to the actual conference, to the show floor, which was basically just a conference hall packed full of retro consoles and arcade cabinets. It was great. So here's a look at some of the games that I played. This thing was cool. This was the Sinden light gun. So if, like me, you love arcade shooters enough to keep an old CRT TV in your spare room that you can pull out when you want to relive gems such as Time Crisis and Point Blank, then this is a really cool alternative. It works on modern TVs and has a really cool recoil effect. There's two versions, one that does have recoil and one that doesn't have recoil. I played the one with recoil, but it feels super nice, and I'll leave a link in the description. Okay, this thing was nuts. Have you ever seen one of those electric chairs at seaside arcades? This was one of those, but rigged up to a pinball machine, so it shocked you at certain points as you were playing the game. It took pinball intensity to a whole new level. I mean, is pinball intense at all? Either way, this one was, and the worst thing about it was it didn't actually indicate to you what would cause the electric shock, and it wasn't what you would expect either. It wasn't when the balls went past the paddles, so you kind of just sat there waiting for it to happen and not knowing how it was going to happen. But fuck me when it did.
Oh fuck! I mean, sorry. There it is.
So when we went to the cabinet section, I tried to play games that I hadn't played before, starting with this game, Konami Kicker. 3 guesses what you have to do on this game. Kick. It was fun, but it was ludicrously difficult. This was me coaching Vicky on Super Hang-On. She couldn't work out how to accelerate on the bike, so she was creeping along at 5 miles per hour thinking that was just the game. Now, when I said I tried to just play games I haven't played before, well, I couldn't pass up on Golden Axe now, could I? In my defence, I'd never actually played this one on an arcade cabinet. An absolute timeless classic, and one of the Genesis games on the Switch Online Plus as well. Get it played. This game, Elevator Action, was fucking poisonously addictive. Another one I'd never played before. You basically ride this elevator up and down this 30-story building trying to find secret documents while dodging and killing spies that are after you. You can shoot the lights out to con the enemies. You can hide behind doors. I was impressed by the amount of approaches you could take to go about playing this game. Obviously, it's nothing compared to today's standards, but arcade games around that time usually had one basic concept, so it was cool to see. I spent too long on this game. All in all, today was just a nice day. Was it the best games convention I've ever been to? Not at all, but there was something special about just being back in that environment again. Being away from them for so long and then subsequently going back to something like this just reminds me how lucky we are to have events like this. It's a testament to how much retro actually means to people, or rather how much nostalgia means to people, because that's what retro is. It's bottled nostalgia. When we were kids, we made some of our fondest memories on these games, but back then we could only play what was at our disposal, and these kinds of places give us access to what we could only dream of back then. So I guess you could say I'm living the fucking dream. Now watch me waltz off into the abyss with my bag of old shite. Like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.